I actually supervise and instruct and drum major Williamsburg fifes and drums. Other opportunities that have presented themselves have been this Irish group that I'm a part of, which is Poison Dwarf, and a local group of klezmer musicians tapped me as a drummer with Bagels and Freylocks. I was born right here in Williamsburg. I actually started taking lessons at age 7 from the music master at the time. Then I worked my way up through the ranks here in the fife and drum corps, all the way up till I graduated in high school. Went on to study music at James Madison University. And after that, moved to New York City and studied more on the drum set with some Broadway show drummers and learned that style of drumming. Then came back here to actually supervise and instruct and drum major this program, the Williamsburg Fifes and Drums, that I started out doing. I'm very proud to be in Poison Dwarf just for the fact that we're playing traditional Celtic instruments. Flute, whistle, the boron, and then a stringed instrument like a guitar or a banjo. If you hear a traditional piece of music from whatever culture played on the traditional instrument, you can't help but get wrapped up into it. Once you hear it in that context, that's how it's meant to sound. I mean, the Irish sessions that we come to learn our music from, those are musicians that are just passing down what they know to the next set of musicians. And they do it in a traditional fashion. I'm playing it on the traditional instruments. Through learning about this music, being able to play this music, it makes me want to understand more and more about my heritage, of which I've been able to do. I've gone to Scotland, and I would not have done that if I hadn't been exposed to this music and had generated an interest to it. Haven't been to Ireland yet, but I plan to soon. I have been to England, and so going to the British Isles definitely would not have happened without me having learned the music and had an interest in finding out more about it and being asked to represent groups that actually get to do it. I am the token non-Jewish personnel in the klezmer band, klezmer being traditional Jewish party music. We tend to play for celebrations. A lot of this music that I get involved with, you're playing, it's celebratory music. At a bar mitzvah, I am looking for, obviously, the other guys to take the lead and tell me what's coming up next as far as the ceremony goes. I probably learn a new Yiddish word every time I go to one of those functions. Some that I can't repeat right now, but it's definitely a learning experience. My favorite tune to play with Bagels and Freylocks is a traditional tune called Miserloo, and I get to play this nice feel behind it, that dun 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 dun. It's more of a love of the type of music it is and what it stands for, is just celebrating the great part of that heritage. And it actually combines a lot of Middle Eastern elements with kind of Broadway music, and I had that background, and some polka almost type beats to play on the drum, and I had an introduction to that while I was working at Busch Gardens here as a drummer in the Fest House band for one of my summers during high school and college. I don't know if I feel assimilated into the culture. I just feel appreciative to be a part of it, and especially part of the celebration, a part of the music. It's very interesting to see the audiences that show up for the different performances that I'm a part of. We have a performance that we do every year for New Year's Eve, and for the last few years we've had both Bagels and Freylocks. and Poison Dwarf on the same stage, alternating sets. And there's this huge crossover audience that comes to both. And they're appreciating that here's another ethnic music that I don't know that much about, but I really like it. And this past year, we put both groups on the stage to create Poisoned Bagels. And that worked out really well. I was involved with the All-American Disney marching band, Reagan's inaugural band. 1984 Olympic band, ended up on a cruise ship in Hawaii, Basel, Switzerland. I'll be going to Australia. I was in a Dixieland band in New Orleans, and they did a cultural exchange with a fishing village in Kushiro, Japan, which is on the northern island of Hokkaido. And it was a very cool exchange in that they really treated us so well, and really wanted to learn about our music, and we wanted to learn about their culture. We actually wore their traditional dress for one of the parades and played Dixieland. So that was fun. I was talking about being the only non-Jewish person in a Jewish band. Down in New Orleans on a few occasions, I was the only white person in a blues band when I was down in New Orleans, living down there for a while. Musicians are musicians. And musicians get along with each other. Once you have an appreciation for the art form, everyone is on common ground, and everyone can play along with each other. That's what I've found, at least with the folks that I've had the luck of being in contact with. You just made me think of Kill Bill. I grew up with kind of rock and roll. When I think of musical, why am I being steered towards like Saturday Night Fever and Grease and things like that? I don't want to be. And I remember singing some very out-of-tune Beatles tunes to a disappointed Japanese audience.